Okay, so as I mentioned in part 3 of this series, I was going to try and do one more video to kind of show you the progression of these shadow patterns that the sun creates at different times of the year. I thought it'd be helpful if I kind of add a few words to this picture that I keep putting up on these videos, but essentially what I have noticed is it appears if you were to collect data over the course of the day, like in the early morning, and just those X's, those red X's that you see represent the different data points that you kind of collect data over the course of a day. And depending on what time of year it is, it will create these different patterns. And so I believe this, I'm starting to get a feel for this, and so this picture is, I believe, what you will see. I'll have to think if it would be the same, or it might actually be flipped if you live in the southern hemisphere. But in the northern hemisphere, this is what you'll see. So I have a little compass showing which direction was north, generally, and so over the course of a year, if you're collecting data, you will see these 3 different patterns. And for example, on the day of the summer solstice, or the longest day of the year, you will see this curve, the smiley face up at the top, and it'll be, I guess, the shadow will be in its southernmost position, and then over depending on how tall your sundial is, after the summer solstice pass, that shadow pattern is going to start returning towards that middle straight line, and it just depends on how tall your sundial is. Like if your sundial, I'm going to show you in the next picture how much it's moved since the theoretical fall equinox until now, so about a third of the new season, and you'll see for a 6-inch tall sundial, it looks like it's moved maybe 2 or 3 inches. But for example, like my 30-foot chimney, the difference between where the shadow is on the summer solstice and where it is on the winter solstice is like hundreds of feet different. Well, maybe it's about 100 feet. Maybe 50 or 60, somewhere between 50 and 100. But anyway, so the shadow pattern will eventually come to this straight line. Now I'm still in the process of trying to confirm that this is the sign. Like I'm concerned there might be some geometric factors we need to take into consideration, and maybe it's possible to see the straight line on a different day depending on where you are on Earth, and depending on if you think the Earth is flat or round or whatever. But I'm just not sure. I haven't seen anyone be able to say that this is absolutely certain. If you see the straight line, then that absolutely means it's the equinox. It might be, but I'm still trying to prove that out. And I think the way to calibrate your sundial so that you can figure out when the equinoxes are, is the way to confirm that is you need to confirm when the solstices are. Or you can use one solstice event to figure out the duration of the year. If you're able to confirm the solstice for 2 years in a row, that'll give you the duration of the year, and theoretically the spring equinox or the fall equinox will happen halfway through that year cycle. And so you will be able to see if your straight line pattern does happen on the half of that duration of time. So I'm still working on proving that out. So right now in this picture, I say summer solstice is a smiley face up at the top, and it'll be at the farthest south position, because I guess the sun is climbing more and more overhead towards the north as the summer grows. And then, and I did want to say, if eventually we are able to establish and prove that the straight line pattern is what happens on the equinox, regardless of where you are on Earth, I would say that has the potential to be a marvelous sign because really you have to think of all the geometry involved, but like that is a marvelous creation that the Creator has made for the sun to be able to give that sign. Like in Genesis 1:14 talks about He's given us the luminaries for days, for seasons, for signs is one of the things he mentions. And so I just want to say, at this point, I'm very convinced that you can tell when the solstices occur, anyone, no matter where you are on Earth. There's not much uncertainty for me in that anymore. Like, you're going to see the sun make this shadow in the most extreme, either southern or northern position, depending on your location, and then it's gonna start to return. But yeah, I think I'm gonna work on trying to prove these equinoxes out. But if it does work out, if we're able to establish that, I'm gonna try and prove that to myself. Hopefully we can all work together. Maybe someone will be able to prove it for me, but that would be marvelous sign, I think. If that's the way it works out, that would be truly amazing. But anyway, so then after the equinox event, I guess, well, depending on which one it is, if it was the fall equinox, then the line pattern would continue to move down towards the winter solstice, and you would see that flip. See how the arc pattern has flipped to like a frowny face. And then on the day of the winter solstice, that pattern of the frowny face will reach its northernmost point because the sun has reached its southern most loop or whatever. So yeah, that's kind of like I said, I've showed this picture before, but I've not really put words and information on this, so I hope you find this helpful. So let's look now to see what has happened recently. So I took some data, I observed some shadow data on October 18th, 2018, and this is what I saw. Now keep in mind, I'm going to flip through the other data that we saw in the other videos so you can see how the pattern flips. But this is confirmation. This is what I expected to see. The arc pattern has flipped direction, and because previous, and we'll look at the pictures, but previous to the equinox event, all of those marks that I made that I've circled in red circles, they were on the other side of that line. It was curved to the other way. It was a smiley face, and you'll see that. Yeah, this is now, I guess, I don't know what it is, like at least a month after the equinox event. But anyway, I kind of ran out of paper space for my last mark on the left, so I had to put a post-it note there. So that's what that is. I had to do that just to get one more mark, but that's definitely pretty clear, I think. So again, I just wanted to show you where north was, and it's kind of the same thing you saw in the previous picture, and that pattern is going to continue to move more down as it approaches the winter solstice. And I think the arc is also going to get more severe. I may try and record one more video around the time of the winter solstice just to see, because I don't think I've taken data in the early mornings and late evenings when the arc would be most pronounced during a summer solstice or winter solstice event yet. So I'm curious to see just how much of an arc we'll see on those events. But you can barely see that. But I just wanted to show you, this was the same paper and the same sundial that I had used, I guess it was about a month ago, approximately, for the fall equinox. And so you can see some of the marks. And actually that line is approximately where the fall equinox was observed. So you can see that post-it note on the left is like It's like 1.5 inches tall. It's not very much, so you can see how much the shadow has moved, and my sundial was about 6 inches tall, so that's how much movement you see in about a month. It's much more for a taller object, but yeah, you just gotta kind of do this to experiment with it and get a feel for it. But yeah, this is what I expected to see. We'll take a look at some other pictures now where you can see how the data is flipped the other way, but this is what I expected to see, a frowny face, and it'll continue to get more frowny until the winter solstice. But let's see, so there again is kind of the progression, and so this is what we're going to be looking for. We're going to go through some different dates, and you'll see these patterns. Remember, summer is a smiley face, and winter is a frowny face. So this was one of the videos I did around the 2017 summer solstice. You can see there it is a smiley face for that data clearly. And again, see how this is a frowny face. This is what I just took the other day. And that's going to become even more severe. I've never, like I've said in my other videos, one thing that I've noticed is it's really easy. If it's harder to see the curve if you only collect data points like in the middle of the day, but if you're sure to get at least one data point in the early morning and late evening, then you can really see the curves. So this was leading up to the Equinox event, like 3 or 4 days before it, and so you can see it's hard to see. Maybe I should have circled those, but the marks are below the line, so it's a smiley face leading up to the Equinox event. And again, this is like a few days before. The points are still below. It's a very slight smiley face, and there are I think this was the day before, and there were some points there that just weren't on the line yet. And this was the theoretical day of the equinox. It looks like it was 9/22, September 22nd. So you can see the progression of that. So, and on that note, I just want to mention, I've come across, I have joined the Facebook world, so I will include a link for like how to get to the new profile I have created. It's going to have the same profile picture that I have for my YouTube channel, same name, same themes and everything. But there's just there's the ability to like network with other truth seekers on Facebook that I have been missing out on, and so I encourage you to get on there. I've created different groups so we can start compiling things for different related topics. So for example, like I said, I didn't get to collect any more data for the fast fall equinox, and so I saw what appeared to be a straight line, but I really would have liked to collect one more day of data to make sure that the arc actually flipped, and I'm still not completely certain 100%. I have more to do, but for these groups on Facebook, I am, for example, one of them is dedicated to solar observations, like just people contributing all their sundial data, like all over the place in Jerusalem, in South America, just all over the place, different people, and I encourage you to join that group if you're interested in this. Learn how to do this and kind of just dive in and start doing it for yourself. You'll figure out what works best for you and share your results with other truth seekers. So that being said, there were a couple gentlemen who were looking at a sundial in Jerusalem, and they were coming up. I think the second one, it's clear to see. I'll have a discussion, kind of my comments when I post the link for their observation videos. I'll give a brief discussion of each of their videos, what I thought they saw. But for example, one of them, I think, clearly he was looking at the sundial. If that sundial was calibrated correctly, he was looking at that sundial after the equinox event occurred, like the shadow or whatever was already progressing past the equinox point and towards the winter solstice point. But the other guy, the first guy, was pretty close, but he was thinking it happened on the 23rd. Now, I don't know if that's just because he was like ahead or behind. I don't know, but like I said, my data showed the 22nd, but I didn't get to collect that next day to show the arc flip, so I'm not sure. But anyway, all these things will be linked to. I'll be starting to compile them in these groups on Facebook. So I'll have a link for I guess, how to find me, or you can find me by my name, but maybe the link below in the description below this video will work. You can join these groups. You can see all this information. I think, I'm not sure if you can see the groups right from my profile. Maybe I know you can see some of them. I don't know if the other ones are floating around. I might have to share them to my profile so you can see them, but there are, like I said, there's going to be a solar observation group. There is going to be a lunar observation group and a stellar observation group, because I believe, I don't, I do think these are all, they have something to do with time. It seems Enoch tells us they all have something to do with time. I don't know if I know exactly what, but they may kind of give overlapping witnesses of certain things. And there's a lot still going on right now, actually, a lot of translational stuff that needs looked into. But I wanted to include those groups just so that people could start learning how to look at those too and understand what's actually going on with the stars and the moon as well. In addition, like I said, translation. There are several other translation Facebook groups that I have started for the interactive translation project. I have another video in my channel that talk about this project, but we're really trying to get deep into the original languages to understand. It's really amazing stuff, and so you gotta. I think some of the videos on my YouTube channel, if you check out the ones I've liked, talk about some various translations, things to consider, but it's just when we want to know truth, and we're going to be diligent to search out the truth, like it becomes important for us to look at all the witnesses and compare them side by side. I don't know if you've heard anything about the corruption of the Masoretic text, but I'm going to include a link in the video below, or below this video, the description below this video, that for a video that I think clearly shows that the Masoretic text has been tampered with, and so I don't know. It's just good to be able to look at different witnesses, and we're just trying to again compile information generally and specifically. Like I've got a group generally for the interactive translation project, but then I've got a specific group that is dedicated to the Enoch Luminary section of Enoch 1, and there are already a lot of interesting things that have been happening lately as far as translation goes. It's really very interesting stuff, so I encourage you to check those out and contribute, and I guess that's it for now. Shalom, and may Yah bless you as you continually seek out His truths with a pure heart.